Hello, and welcome to another episode of Women in Trades, the 4%. Today I have Kelsey here with me, and she is a journeyman electrician. And we are just going to get right into it. She's going to start us off by telling us about how she got into her job.
Hey, it's so good to finally talk to you in person instead of just on Messenger.
Yes, welcome. Thank you for being here.
So I got involved in my electrical career 4 years ago. I was freshly out of a divorce and working overnights at a manufacturing plant. I was working building the blades for wind turbines. And I was doing a little side work and met a guy whose girlfriend owned an electrical company. And he was like, if you can handle this, you could handle being an electrician. My girlfriend owns an electrical company. You should call her. She'd hire you just because you're a girl. And I was like, people don't do that. Like, I don't think that's legal. And he was like, no, seriously, like, she wants more women in the trades. Give her a call, yada, yada, she'd hire you. And I was like, I don't know about that. So I sat on it for a couple days. And finally I called her and I was like, okay, what is this all about? Like, what is electricity? Like, I can turn on my light switch, I can plug in my cell phone charger, but like, what does this even look like? And she was like, well, hey, why don't you come do a working interview and see if you like it? And I was like, oh, heck yeah, that sounds so cool. Like, I've never heard of that before. So it was like on a Wednesday. I went and worked a full day for her, realized how much I understood and loved it, and it just made sense to me. I looked at the blueprints, and she made fun of me all day for how poorly I used a pair of strippers. And after that, I was like, I think I want to do this forever. She's like, okay, you come start on Monday. And that was 4.5 years ago.
That's awesome that you got your start at a woman-owned company as well.
She's my roommate now, and all of her employees call me her wife because she helps me take my kids to school. So it's really cool because, like, I don't work for her anymore, but it's just, like, roundabout. It's nice to be around other like-minded women.
Yeah.
And she was a single mom as she worked her way through the trades. And so it's nice to have, like, a little village within kind of the blue-collar women industry.
Yeah, that's super awesome because obviously she really understands, like, everything that we go through on a daily basis. And I personally don't have kids, like, so I can't even imagine how much harder it is when you do have kids, because our work schedule, normally we start sometimes before they're in school. And
oh yeah,
I struggle with dogs. Like, shout out to all the blue collar moms, because I know that is not easy.
It's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. And it's not for, if you think that you can do life by yourself and you don't need anybody, you're going to get humbled really fast, because being a mom. So I started electrical right before COVID hit. So, like, school shut down. I had to figure out how to do all of that while being a working mom. And, like, we were considered as the essential workers, right? So work didn't stop for us. I didn't stay home at all. And I learned really quick that I had to have, like, a village of people to help me. Had a great babysitters to help me, but also, like, residential slowed down after about a year because everybody, like, ran out of money and we're still home. So I switched over to doing oil and gas. And doing oil and gas, there was days where I would work a 10-hour day and there were days where I would work a 16-hour day. And I had to come up real fast with people who could help me, because, like, I would drop my kids off at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and then I wouldn't be able to pick them up until 9:30 at night. So typically, like, drop them off sleeping, pick them up sleeping, and that's really hard to do if you're completely by yourself. It's just not realistic. And so I think finding other women that are in a village that you can do it together, or that are going to support you so that you can do it, is really important. And so many of us doing this lifestyle can be very lonely because we're sometimes the only women that we see for months.
Yeah, no, I literally, like, a couple months ago, I went out with a group of girls for one of their, like, 30th birthday. And it was honestly, like, the first time I had been with a group of women in so long. And it was really nice. Like, you don't even realize, like, how much you miss, like, feminine energy. But, like, when you're only around men for so long and like all you do is basically like work, go home, like maybe see your family a little bit, like
Yeah.
but your life basically ends up revolving around work, and needing a village is so real because even just for me, like I have a puppy right now, and even though I'm only working 8-hour days currently, I might have to drive an hour to the job site, so I'm gone for 10 hours a day. I cannot leave a puppy alone, so I literally had to hire like a puppy sitter, like,
Yeah.
and that's just for a dog. So like I couldn't imagine like actual humans to also take
It's
care of, but it can
yeah.
be done, and a lot of you badass women do it, and
Yeah, we
props
do.
to y'all.
I think more people understand what it's like. I do wish that, like, for us, daycare hours were a little bit more like working mom friendly or just more affordable, but that's another topic for another day. But I feel the same way. Like, I tell my boyfriend, I'm like, I like when we go to church on Sundays, or when we have like our thing is that we have one night a weekend is date night. And I'm like, I love date nights because there's times where we're like, okay, we're super busy this month. My date night is gonna be in the house. And I'm like, I haven't brushed my hair in a month, and I'm gonna need you to take me out so that I have a reason to put on some mascara and brush my hair. Because if I don't, like, I've forgotten that I'm a girl, you know?
Yeah. This podcast has low key been my reason recently to like get dialed up and actually do my hair and makeup. So
W-
that's been a perk because normally I'll be the same way and I'm like, I really like need to make myself look nice today
Yeah.
to
Whatever it is. For
remind.
us, it's church every Sunday. I'm like, I get to actually wear, because like I low key love Western fashion. And
Yeah.
so like before I ever did this, my career choices were like, I had a women's boutique at one point in time. I used to build custom furniture. Then I became an electrician. I tried to be like a Western model for a little while because that was so fun. And so I like have that like need to be girly. And I'm like, church on Sundays, I'm like, I need to put on a dress. I need to brush my hair. I'm like, God, thank you for breathing life back into me and reminding me that I am not just an employee. I am a mom and a woman. And this is probably the first time I've brushed my hair all week. So,
Yeah,
you know.
because it is important to also have that separation and because I feel like on social media, people, and I don't know if you get it, but I always get like, welding is your whole personality, or like your job is your whole personality. And it's like, okay, just because that's what you guys see me post on social media does not mean that's like my whole personality,
People
but
are
like
crazy.
that's just
People
the
are crazy.
content that does good.
You know
So,
what's crazy is social media is it's weird how much people think they know you off of what you post on your platform. And it's
yeah.
like, I feel like I kind of know you. Like, we've talked like on TikTok and Facebook and stuff about, and like when you came here, we were gonna try and hang out. But it's like, people forget that social media is a niche market. Like,
Yeah.
I don't post my whole life on there because people don't want to know my whole life. They don't want to know about my boyfriend. They don't want to know about my kids. They don't want to know about like what I do during the week. They just want to know what I do for electrical. But you know what's wild is like, I see the comments on your social media and I see the comments on some of the bigger like influencers. Like, we need a different word than influencer, but
Yeah, no.
like, and some of the comments are so horrible. And I don't know why, but I feel like I have very minimal of those comments. It's usually my most viral videos or ones where I like will post my mistake because shit happens and we make mistakes, and I'm not going to act like I'm holier than thou and I never make them. And so I will be real and raw and post them on the internet because why not? Like my
Yeah,
whole platform
absolutely.
is about being real.
Yep.
And that's when people usually come for your throat. But I've been blessed to not have super horrible comments. But there are some girls that y'all have attracted some trolls. And I love that you own it. Like, you're mean right back. And I'm like, I'm so glad I don't have too many trolls because as much as I pretend like I'm mean, I'm not that mean.
I had to get used to it. Like I think I've mentioned it on here before, but like I actually blew up on TikTok like a few times on a few different accounts, and every time I would just delete it because all of like the fucking mean comments. I'm like, I can't deal with this. But then after like being in the trades for so long, I got thick skin and then I just started talking shit back. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, if anything, I'm just gonna make this funny and I'm gonna make these people feel bad about themselves. Like,
Yeah.
because really, like, you don't have anything better to do than talk shit to a girl in her 20s. Like, come on.
Right? Bro, like I think the hardest thing about it is like they're getting judged by people who don't know you.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you don't know me and you're being awful. And I would never. But I think realizing that, like, just because the way that we treat people is good and we're kind and doesn't mean that everybody's that way. Because on
Yeah,
a job site,
absolutely.
it's very rare on a job site that I get shit talked to me. And even when I do, like, I have a decent RBF. So all I have to do is do some, like, what the fuck did you just say to me? And they're immediately just like,
Yep. Yeah, I have never, at least not in the last couple years, I have not had an issue on a job site, but it's also I think it's the resting bitch face like you said, like most of them don't even want to talk to me at first until they hear me like cuss out my coworker as a joke and then they're like, "Oh, like she might be kind of cool, like she's okay."
that's the
But
best feeling on the planet is when you get that nod of approval from the like grumpiest coworker and you're just like, because it's always when you say something off the wall, when you clap back and it's a good one, and then you just get that like there is no better reward than when your coworker that gives you that and you're just like, yes.
yep. My coworkers like to say that I basically drive us right into the ditch in every conversation because I just like take it one step too far. Like we'll go out
I
to
am the
breakfast.
13-year-old boy on site.
No, literally, like I'm worse
Oh
than
my
all
god.
of them. Like you don't have to worry about any of the guys getting an HR complaint. You have to worry about me.
I am the only one that has gotten an HR complaint. And everybody's like, "What? Why?" And I'm like, "Not for anything that you would expect." Like, but honestly, the job site that I'm on right now, we're joking around one day and I was working with some boys that I don't get to work with very often, but they're funny and they were calling me Poppy. And I was just like, "Ah, fuck it, I'm running with this." And so I told our general contractor crew that since like my apprentices called me Poppy, that they have to start calling me Poppy. And like I was just running with it because we were just in a goofy mood all day, right? And I was gone for a week because we were slow on our job site, came back and all the guys are like, "Hey, Poppy." And I was like, "Who are you talking to?" And I was like, that's my
That's
nickname.
me. I'm Poppy. That's me. I'm Poppy.
Yes, I love it here.
It's so funny.
Hi.
My apprentices were calling me Mr. Sir Boss Woman Man at the last shutdown, and I'm like,
I
I
dig
can't
it.
even. I I can't even. I'm not even gonna argue with you guys. It's fine as long as you know who's in charge.
Right? I've had a few coworkers that like I feel like the guys that I work with always have my back, but they'll do it
Mhm.
in a funny way, you know, where
Yes,
they'll be like, "Yeah,
exactly.
she's got a bigger D than you do." And I'm like, "Yeah, like I will outwork you, but can we not?"
Yeah, my coworkers will be like, "No offense, but you're basically like one of the guys." And I'm like, I don't find that offensive. Like honestly, that's kind of how I want to be treated. Like I don't want to be treated special.
Yeah.
I don't want you guys to try to do my work for me like
Yeah.
cuz that was one thing when I first started out that like I feel like I could not get the men to let me do the work in like my first year of apprenticeship. They were basically like, "Okay, now watch." And I'm like, I'm a hands-on learner. Like you actually need to let me do this or I'm
Mhm.
not gonna retain this information. Like but I
Mhm.
feel like because I was a woman, they were like they don't want to let the girl do the work while they watch, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've found a lot of women who get really mad about that. And to me, it's like, no, that's just restores my faith that there are men that have been raised correctly, right? Because they've
Yeah.
been raised to be protectors of women, they've been raised to be gentlemen. And so to me, I take that as like, thank you for being a good man, right? Like, I can appreciate that. You know, I'm not going to get mad at you for doing that because I think there needs to be more men that are like that. But I also will remind them, like, hey, I'm here because I'm capable of being here. I appreciate you offering, but like, if I need you, I'll ask. You know, and
Yeah.
a lot of times I feel like catch more flies with honey, right? Like, that's going to get
Mhm.
you a whole lot more respect. It's going to get you a lot farther. And those guys are going to be like, okay, like, it's not always the nice guys finish last, which a lot of men, I understand. And I don't know about you, but I feel like working in a male dominated industry, it helps me understand men and the like fight that they have against masculinity. I understand it so much better. And so a lot of times I'm like, first off, I see what you're doing. I know it made dating really hard until I caught my boyfriend. Anyways, but
Dating is hard as a blue collar woman.
it's weird. Guys are either like super in love with it or they super hate it.
And even
And
if they are in love with it, they eventually find something to hate about. Not always,
yeah.
but a lot of them will find something to hate about it, whether it be like your work schedule or like how
Hmm.
tired you are or it. Yeah, that's a
They're jealous
double
over
edged.
the fact that you have your work besties. I agree. The guy that I'm dating now is also an electrician. I said I would never date somebody within the same field. And I didn't meet him on a job site. People automatically assume that I did, but we actually met at softball out in the wild. And I talked some mad shit to him because he was
That's
so
cute.
cute. I talked mad shit to him and he was just kind of like, okay, like, who is this chick? Anyways, but it's kind of cool now to like date somebody in my same industry because I can call him and be like, hey, I've got this generator. I can't figure out why it's running. This and that. You know, and he'll be like, okay, well, troubleshoot this and troubleshoot that. And when I did it, like, you know, and it's kind of nice that we understand each other's jobs, but it still becomes an issue where it's like, I would work all the time. And he's like, hey, you need to slow down your work schedule because I want to see you. Like, I understand that. But it is nice to know that where a lot of men find insecurity in us being surrounded by men, that like he is super respectful about it, which is cool. Because
Yeah.
like any woman that takes her job seriously isn't on a job site to find a husband. We're there to put up with somebody else's husband and not murder them and take care of our families, or you know, go on adventures like you do.
Exactly. Yes, I'm
But
always adventuring
I know I love seeing your adventures. They're so cool.
and taking care of my dogs. So I spend so much money on my dogs. Like that's why I work so I can give my dogs a good life, and they always get to go on my adventures with me. So you said that you worked in a factory manufacturing blades for wind turbines before you got into the electrical career. Before that, did you have any knowledge with like trades or manufacturing or anything?
Um, yes and no. Before I got divorced, I had built myself a small like custom furniture building business. So I started out building these like Pinterest baby gates out of pallets, and it turned into a thing where I was like, it went from like a gate to like a sideboard to like a nightstand. The farmhouse really kicked in, and people are asking me like, hey, I can't build this. I don't have the tools to build this Pinterest thing that I found. Can you build it if I send it to you? And I'd be like, yeah, sure. The math made sense to me. So changing the measurements for different size coffee tables, it was easy. It was something I could do at home and still provide for my kids. So I built this business before I got divorced. So I understood it in that manner, but I didn't really understand the whole concept of like being in a trade per se. I just understood manufacturing in that way. But getting
That's
into
yeah,
electrical was like a whole new world.
absolutely. That's cool. I got into the pallet furniture and stuff too, but I mostly did the signs. But
Okay.
my mom wouldn't even let me run the power tools to cut them apart. She would make my stepdad like use the sawzall. So
That's so
yeah,
funny. I
I
had
know.
all the power tools. Like I had more power tools than any man that I knew, and I was like, I had my joiner, I had my planer, I had two different types of miter saws and all the things. I would regularly be caught outside with my like corded saws, also like a powerful one, cutting up pallets to make these baby gates. And it was so good to do it. And sometimes I miss it because there is such a art in what we do, right? Like people don't realize that to do what we do, you have to be just the littlest bit artistic,
Yep. Absolutely.
and we get to, like, the creativity that comes with it is really cool. And it just, I don't know, sometimes I miss that, but I get to do that in my pipe work now. So
Yeah.
that's really cool. I like doing industrial. All my pipe work is exposed on the wall. So I get to like enjoy it and come back 5 years later and still see pipe work that I did, which is cool.
Yeah, conduit, especially when it's all bended and everything. Y'all run it so well, not everyone, but most of you
Yeah.
electricians run it like so straight and nice. I'm always like, that's satisfying.
There's an art to it. And there's been a few plants that I've gone into and I'd be like, please tell me we didn't do this. Like these are awful. And then a few that I've gone into and I'm like, please tell me that's ours. It's gorgeous. But it's like, it's such a curse too, because then you like go to like your local like Applebee's or your local like whatever restaurant and you're just like looking up and you're like, these lights are awful. Like who did this? I don't know if it's the same for welders, but I'll go in public places and see stuff and I'm like, goodness.
For me, it's the breweries, and normally I'm really impressed with them. Some of them I'm like, but because like normally you can see like all the piping to like all the big beer tanks and stuff in the back. And most of the time I really like it, but sometimes I'm like, what in the hell? And it's all I can look at like the whole time I'm out. Like, yeah, and anytime there's like a pipeline project going on the side of the road or something, I'm always looking at it, like being nosy for no reason.
Yeah. So I do
So
water and
what
wastewater treatment facilities now. And so
I've done a lot too.
we get some welders in that like now I know enough to looking at a weld that I'm like, that's not gonna test. Don't I tell my apprentices, I'm like, don't even bother wiring that up. That weld is so bad. Because like I've seen good welds. I've watched you. I know what a good weld looks like. I know what welds fail. And but I'm sure like you see stuff and you're like, that's not gonna pass. There's no way. That's so ugly.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like walking around plants, there's some stuff that I'm like, how much pressure is that? And that hasn't like blown apart and broken yet? Like, okay. All right. Yeah, it's
I'm not gonna come
crazy.
here again.
Yeah, literally, I'm like, this is a time bomb. Like, this place is gonna blow up. I actually am going back to a wastewater plant Monday. I was literally at one from like January to July, and I get to go back on Monday. Do I make a shit ton of extra money when I work at wastewater plants? Do you?
Just depends. So the job that I'm on now is a prevailing wage job. So
Yeah.
I'm making some what I call man money, and people don't quite understand it, but I'm like, I'm making that man money. Like, I'm daddy at my house.
It's like,
But
for
since
me, I know that like a 40-hour week on a wage job is like a 50 or 60-hour week on overtime. So,
yeah,
yeah, the money
it's
is
some
crazy,
stupid
but
money, that's for sure.
yeah,
But like otherwise, it just depends on the job. So for us, like, because I'm not union, so for us,
me
we don't
either.
get like a hazardous pay or whatever. If it's a federal job, so the job that I'm on now is a Buy American, Build American job. It's like the first in the country of its kind. So everything that we are installing has to be American made. And so since
Mhm.
it's a federal paid job, that's why it's like getting a prevailing wage. And a lot of our stuff is city work or government work. So those are the jobs where we make a little bit more, but most of the time it's just typical straight wage.
Yeah, that's exactly how ours is too. And our job is actually the same, except I believe that a certain percentage of it had to be American made parts because at least on the piping and the pumps and the like we completely redid all the clarifiers. We were
Yeah.
basically like a general contractor on that job as well. Like we were technically like the bosses of the electricians and the concrete people, like
Okay.
everyone. We were, for some reason, I don't know why that's not typical for us because I work for a mechanical contractor,
Yeah.
but we completely redid all the clarifiers, like all the weirs and like everything, square ones, round ones. And I just think that it wasn't feasible to have 100% American made parts. So in the
It's
contract they
not.
did like allow a percentage, like up to a certain point, like
Yeah.
cuz especially with like shipping times and stuff, like that job is still on hold because we're waiting on valves that are literally like 2 months out and they were supposed to come in 2 months ago and they've been on order for over a year now.
We have
It's
generators for
insane.
projects that are 5 years out. Cause like
Yeah.
Microsoft in Cheyenne, which is just an hour north of me, bought up so many of them that like to get a generator, it's 5 years out. Like we have like some of our like ATS systems, some of our PLCs, they're at least 30 months out. So you're starting a project. That's like the first thing that you order is the brains of the whole operation because you
Yeah.
know that your project is 36 months. It's going to take 30 months to get this, and you're going to need at least like 3 months for all of your INC programming people to come in. And yeah, it's crazy when you sit down and think about it. But ours is the same. Like there are some things that like we just don't make in America.
Mhm.
We don't have any way to manufacture them. Nobody does it.
Literally.
There's people who aren't willing to legally say like all of our stuff is American made and we'll put our name to that legally. And that's kind of crazy, but yeah, we have our list of things that like are American made and aren't. So, I don't know. It's a headache, but it's pretty cool to be a part of, that's for sure.
I definitely didn't realize how much went into construction before I got into this field because you
No.
would think like they just go out there and build it, but it's so much coordination and
Yeah.
really a team effort all around.
What do you think, like, between the estimating and all the pre-construction, they're working on that a year before we even put boots on the ground to put in temp power. And I'm putting temp power in before y'all get in, before even like dirt guys get in. It's crazy.
What kind of blew my mind was like seeing like a bid proposal kind of happen for the first time and seeing like a bunch of companies like all walk around the job because they really do like basically fight for it and then like put in their bid and hope that they have the lowest one. But I'm like, it is just like to have like 10 or 12 companies all walking around one job, all hoping to get it is crazy to me.
You know what blows my
And then the
mind is
job didn't even go through. So I'm like, so they all just wasted their time and all the estimators wasted their time. Like,
yeah. We have one that happened kind of like that. It was a massive project and then it got broken down into 5 different smaller projects. Could you imagine though, just like you do a project from start to finish and everything that goes into it, and we know just like a tiny little bit of like, this is what we're going to be doing for the next 6 months. This is just what we're doing for a month, right?
right.
And you think about these people who are doing the pre construction or the estimating, and they're bidding a building for the whole scope of it, like, just think about the knowledge of knowing that whole system so well that
Yeah.
you could put a numerical value on it to where we typically fall in that range. And that's crazy to me. That's
Yeah,
the
I have
knowledge that,
a lot of respect for estimators because what a headache.
yeah, they have it
What
hard.
a headache.
That's a knowledge that one of my apprentices went in to go be an estimator and he loves it, but I don't know. That's a lot.
Yeah. Half of me like wants to move up into a management or some kind of like higher up office position because like I realistically don't know if my body will be able to handle this forever. Like I'm only 27 and I hurt. Like I'm in
Yeah.
pain. After 5 years, like welding and shit really took a toll. So I
Yeah.
know that like long term, like I want to be in charge of something. Like I'm a boss bitch and I know that. I feel it in my soul.
No, I feel that. My goal is to be the first female foreman in my company, and that's where I want to be. But I think as women, our biggest I've like thought about if I want more children, right? And I think about that and I'm like, how is that going to affect where I want to be? For a dude, it's like you have a wife to take care of your kids.
Right.
It's taken me a little longer to get where I'm at because I can't work the extra hours that I need, or, I have to work it around my kids. And I'm like, if I ever chose, and I know a lot of women feel this way, if I choose to have children, that delays my job. Like, I have to put my job on hold, right? I'm not able to learn as much. I'm not able to do as much. And I think that's such a huge part of why there's not as many women in the field, is because for us to be young enough to do what we do, to be strong enough to do what we do, we're also in prime time family having ages, or we're in, we do run out a little bit faster than men do because they're just built for this. You're tiny. I'm taller than you, I think, but
I'm
yeah, okay, I'm not that much taller than you. But it's like, or we're just not, I don't think our bodies are just made for it. But it's like, I feel like I'm not ready to go into the office yet. To me, I'm like, the day that I go into the office is the day that I die. I don't know.
yeah. I'm not
I'm not
ready
ready
yet.
for that yet.
I give it maybe like 10 years. If by 40 I could start like saving my joints and stuff, I would be
Yeah,
happy, I think.
that's not bad.
But yeah, but we'll see. I mean, so when I was hired and like kind of as I was working through the first couple years of my apprenticeship, the president of the company, his goal for me was for me to be the first female foreman. And then I kind of like took a different path and got into like welding and stuff. And I don't know if that's still their goal for me, but I I was at our last refinery shutdown, was like the normal foreman who runs that shutdown had knee surgery, and I am the only one that's worked every shutdown there with him for like the last 4 years. So I was given the job of like plant relations, pulling all the paperwork, all our permits, everything. Like, so I was
Heck
basically
yeah,
like,
girl.
yeah, and it was freaking stressful, dude. I mean, I liked it. Like, it was fine. It went good. But holy cow, like, was it stressful.
That's
Like, I
so
was
cool
just,
though.
it was, and it felt good that I was able to do it and it went good. And even like all the people at the plant were like, it doesn't even matter that like the normal foreman's not here because like you're killing it. Like, they were all gassing me up, and I was like, because I was
I love
nervous. Like,
that so much though.
it was cool. It was actually, it was pretty cool, but I'm low-key, I don't know, it was stressful. I don't know if I did run work, I would want it to be like little jobs because in general I prefer smaller jobs, like
Yeah.
crews of 5 maybe,
I think
but
doing small projects before you become a foreman is such a crucial stepping stone, because you do
Yeah.
need to understand from start to finish how to like do your material rec and do your MLPs and do your like whatever takeoffs you have, do the communications and all that. I think that doing
Yeah.
small projects is such a crucial part to being able to run jobs, because jumping in and running people, it's so easy to forget steps. It's so easy to not realize what steps have to be taken.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, it's really cool to work for a company that is like, this is what we want for you. And you're like, okay, well, I didn't shoot that high, but that's cool that you're
I,
shooting that high. Cause like
yeah.
now I know that you're behind me. You know, it's like the company that I was at before my current company, my reviews were like, you need to sit down, you need to keep your mouth shut, you need to do what you're told, you need to stop asking questions. And I'd be like, how am I supposed to learn? Like, those are my reviews, you know, my
Yeah.
yearly reviews, whatever. The company I'm at now, they're like, we love what you're doing. Keep posting on TikTok. Keep teaching people. Go teach at the college. Go help at the girls' day. Go, you know, ask all the questions. What can we teach you? What do you want? Where do you want to be? All of these things. And I'm like, "God, I get princess treatment here," which should just be normal treatment, but it feels like princess treatment after what I've put up with. But it's
Right.
so cool because, like, I get to, you know, like I got to be in the Parade of Lights in Denver. I get to teach at the college and like help with their high school programs. I did like a construction and transportation girls' day that was geared towards like middle school and high school girls, and just sit with the college and like talk to these girls about what it's like to be an electrician, which was so cool. But 1900 girls is a lot. That was exhausting, but so cool. But
Yeah.
it's like anytime I'm like, hey, the college wants me to come help them with this, or like, hey, I found this opportunity to volunteer here, or, you know, I get to be on part of like the community's partner board. So that's like basically everywhere that my company delegates their money for like 501(c)(3)s for the year. And I get to help sit on that board and choose how we're gonna do things. And I have a few like people that are my specific organizations, and so we work with them on what we're going to do. We do runs, we do all these things, we sponsor them, and it's just so cool to just like get sat at the table with people who are eventually going to be the ones to decide where your career's going to go. When you're like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
done being in the field, they're going to be like, okay, well, you've earned your place, like we're going to put you here. Everybody knows you, so it's not going to be that hard to put you in talent acquisitions or community management or whatever, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's just cool to be working at a company that is as invested in you as you are in them.
Yeah. And there are companies out there like that because I also work for a really good company who, like you said, they shoot for the stars for me. Like they wanted me to be the first female foreman. You know, they know I have a TikTok. Several of the office ladies follow me. They knew I was going down to top welder to like film that TV show and they
That's
supported
so
me.
cool.
They they even let the production crew come into the shop to film like the little
That's awesome.
introduction. Yeah, so it is really nice to have a company that supports, especially because, like, I didn't even realize it at first, but like my TikTok community is really important to me. Like the amount of women that have messaged me and said, "Hey, like I started welding because of you," or "I joined a trade because of you." Like hundreds now, literally, of
Yeah.
comments and messages like that, and the fact that I could even inspire just one woman, like, makes it all worth it.
It's so you don't know who's watching until they say something, right?
Yeah.
Which, you know, sometimes it's like, gosh, I'm just like making weird content, talking to
Mhm.
myself on my phone. And then you go somewhere and they're like, "Oh my god, like I love your stuff. You're so funny. Like you bring me joy, you inspire me, you do this, you do that." And I'm like, "I had no idea you were watching. I'm just weird on the internet." And it benefited somebody. And it's the coolest thing cuz like it is kind of weird to like, what do I talk about? You know, I don't film everything I do during the day, so I'm not going to
Yeah.
be like it's like for me as a female electrician, my two women that I am obsessed with who I want to be like is Carly the Sparky and Lexia Brew. Both of them are just such like powerhouse women, but they film what they do all day long. And there's days where I'm like, I don't have anything to film, because I'm on an industrial site and I'm just threading OCal nipples for the 15th day in a row. And so it's weird because it's like, okay, what do I talk about? How do I inspire people? How do I show up to encourage other women to do what I do if I'm not like creating cool highlight reels?
Yeah.
And so creating that and putting yourself out there like that is a little terrifying because it does require being a little weird on the internet. And it's also it is so rewarding. I took a break over the summer to work a lot while my kids were gone. And I realized that I missed it. I was like, this is just TikTok. This is just me posting. I have a boyfriend now. I don't need it. And I realized that I had a lot of passion in posting. I had a lot of passion in the conversations that I got to have because of that. And there's a lot of people that I don't know outside of TikTok. I don't talk to them outside of TikTok. But it's
Right.
like, I know that I have a cheerleading core group of people who have been following me from the beginning that are always going to brighten my day. There's people who see my stuff and they are motivated by it. And I realized how much I missed it because there is a lot of passion that goes into creating them, but then also refills you, it refuels you, it gives you purpose. And that's so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah. It's really awesome for me to see like the people that like they're like, I just started welding school because of you, and then I like go to their page and sure enough like they're posting welding videos or something. But that's why I think a lot of people don't realize about me is that I do more than just weld. Like I'm a pipe fitter, I do copper, I do plumbing, but I don't normally take videos of that because for one, like I'm embarrassed to like set my phone up and film if people can see me.
Yes.
Like I'll hold it and record videos of myself. That's one thing, but like to set my phone up and record it let myself working, like I especially if there's a bunch of men around. If I'm alone,
Oh, if
absolutely.
I'm alone, I will film lots.
Absolutely. But like there is always people around and I just like would they care? Probably not. Would they talk shit? Maybe a little. But like I just and normally I'm so dang busy and moving around so
I don't
much
even
that
think
I'm like
about it. I get to the end of the
literally
week and I'm like, crap, I didn't film anything this week. Honestly,
yeah.
my last job site that I was on, I had a bunch of younger guys that I worked with, and they were really cool because they would be like, "Hey, you're doing something cool. We gotta get this on TikTok. Let me film this." And they'd be like, "Why is the video just of my butt?" And they're like, "You were facing away from me." And I'm like, I need you to be a better Instagram boyfriend if you're gonna be doing this. Like, come get in there. But it was so cool because it was like my coworkers were part of my biggest fan club too. Like they wanted me to succeed. They wanted me to make cool videos. And I was like, I love that. I love that y'all know that like I'm not here just to shake it on the internet and be some like, you know, like pick me chick. I'm here to like talk about what I really like, and you're willing to help me with that and like film some cool stuff that I forget. And that's like one of the bigger compliments is when you have people that are willing to like help you out and pump you up and like do stuff, and that's cool. I'm on my job site alone now. And I'm not really a prefab is just we're doing like underground, and I do a little bit of filming for rebar, but it's like sometimes I'm 4 stories up putting in lightning protection, and I'm not going to set my phone up on some janky scaffolding on top of a like 40-foot wall. Like I
Yeah.
like you guys, but I like I like having a phone more. So I'm not filming this.
Yeah, I've been in the shop, so I like got to take some welding videos finally. Like that's the one time that I'm like if I'm welding, I will set my phone up and like record some content, but any other time I'm just like, man, If I'm in a bind, I will make my coworker record it though, because I'm like, this is
Yeah.
cool. I'm in a terrible spot. I need to show everyone this. Like, oh, it's so
Yeah.
funny.
It's funny when you get the videos and you go back and you're like, why does my double chin look like it hangs to my chest? Like,
I'm like, is
what
that what I
is
look like?
this?
And these guys still hit on me,
Oh,
literally, and I look like Fiona off of Shrek. Like, come on.
like, oh, sweet baby Jesus. Why did you not tell me that I still had lunch on my face?
Or when you have
Oh,
something in your teeth, you go home at the end of the day and you have a
yeah.
poppy seed right in your teeth, and you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
not a single one of those men could tell me. And they're like, I didn't notice it. And I'm like, bullshit.
I feel like they don't. There's so much space between their ears that, like, I swear they don't.
They probably don't.
Like, I dig
Literally.
it.
It's better that way, honestly.
I seriously have the coolest coworkers, so
I do too. I've been very blessed with my coworkers so far. I've only had like one guy that I really, really could not stand, and he
same.
literally went and complained to the foreman about having to work with me, and the foreman kicked him off the job. So,
That's badass.
well, and I was a first year apprentice, so it was really badass.
That is super cool. I had
Yeah.
the general contractor had a guy that was talking very X-rated about me. Not even at work. It was at one of their job functions and just saying some like nasty shit. And I didn't know about it, but they handled it. And I was told about it after the fact, and they handled it. And he got in trouble for it. And they told my super, who told me. And I was like, I really appreciate that. That, like,
Yeah.
y'all handle it. Y'all have my back without me. I feel so bad for women who don't have the same experience as us because I've heard some horror stories. And I feel like it's always women who are in the union, but like I just hear some horror stories of women who have it so hard, and it just breaks my heart for them because I'm like, this life is so good. It can be so good.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I'm sad that other women don't get the same experience that we do because I feel spoiled that I had such a great upbringing in the trades. I mean, even when I did oil and gas, which was a lot of sexual harassment and a lot of hours and a lot of really hard days, like I still had a decent upbringing. And now that I'm at my company where I'm at now, I'm just like, I can't imagine having to stay somewhere to where you're constantly just berated and harassed and miserable just because like that might be the only place to work.
Yeah, I'm not union, but the first time I'm pretty much like the only young, pretty woman that has ever worked out in the field for my company for multiple years on end in like
Yeah.
the last 20 years that I know of. I mean, they used to have women like back in the day, I guess, but they would be like fire watch or like helpers basically. But like the first time I experienced sexual harassment, and I did like touch on it in a prior episode, but my foreman told me that I brought it up and I was pissed, and he told me, you need to stop or you're gonna get fired. And I was like, then I don't want to fucking work here if I can't, like, literally, if you guys aren't gonna look
Mm-hmm.
out for me. And the situation ended up being resolved eventually. It was like a whole big thing, but I really had to push. And I don't know, I know like the unions in Michigan are pretty strong, but being non-union and being like kind of one of the first women at this company, I feel like I really had to push not only for fair wages and everything, but also just like for them to take me seriously or my complaint seriously.
Sure.
Once I got through that, like I haven't had an issue again, and I feel like they would absolutely have my back now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've had some really interesting conversations with other women on the job sites because there's been a couple women that come in with a bad attitude. And I'm like, girl, like, what are you doing? First off, like, you're one of a kind. You are creating the relationships with these people. You're making the impression with these people that the next woman that comes on site is going to have it easier. So if you come in super bitchy and mean and all of that, they're going to expect that all women are going to be that way. And so the next
That's
woman that's
true.
after you, they're going to expect that that's how they're going to be, and they're going to treat that person accordingly. But if you come in and you are good, you're hardworking, you're kind, you handle things with respect, you don't expect people to just tiptoe around you, and you're just one of the boys, you're cool, then that's gonna set the next woman that comes after you up for success because they've had a good experience with you. And I've had this conversation not only with women, but I've had this conversation with men. And I've had the first female, she transgender, so male to female, and she was not very far into her transition, and she and I had that conversation because she was like, I do this for me. And I was like, I love that for you, right? Like, this is your choice as an adult. This is who you believe that you are, and I can support that. You have been nothing but good and kind to me. It has nothing to do with like, my religion, my faith, my political background. It has everything to do with like, you represent women, so you're here and we are now a team. If you're going to represent women, we are a team. So first off, like, I'm here for you. Tell me what you need. But secondly, like, you are a landmark. You are a beacon of what is coming after you. So however you treat people, whatever impression you leave on people, is going to be what people are going to remember for the next transgender female that comes on site. And they're going to be like, I had a great relationship with this one chick on this one job site. So like, I'm probably going to come at you with a little bit softer. And she was like, I never thought about it that way. And I was like, I think a lot of people don't. Like, we're so used to not having a village mindset in our culture that we don't think about how the way that we treat people now is going to affect the people that come after us. And I made that TikTok recently about like, what legacy are you going to leave? And it's all about like how people remember you and how people remember their interaction with you and all of that. And that's going to affect people down line for a whole lot longer than we even realize. And part of being a woman on a job site is creating that relationship so that those men take that good relationship and treat other women better. Like, we
Yeah.
might have to take a few bullets now for the women after us to have it easier and to have it better, and so that there are more on site that are capable of staying on site. But it's worth it. We're tough. Like, we can handle it. Like, we can handle a few shitty interactions to be able to like lessen those shitty interactions for our daughters or for just the girls that are like in high school now that are coming after us. I'm 35. Like, I know for a fact that there are girls that are coming after me that are going to appreciate what I did for them.
Yes. Absolutely. I think that this is a really good topic to close the podcast on. And I did have a little bit of a story to bring up that relates to that because I had a job offer one time and I was considering taking it. And I went and did a weld test for these people, this company. And the guy who ran like it's their weld school, so all their apprentices go to learn to weld there. Anyone who wants to be a welder for that company would test there. The first thing he says to me is, yo, what's up? I know you've been in for a while, so you're probably good, but most women just want to suck dick and hang out in the foreman's truck. And well, no one should ever say that to a woman because luckily I had thick skin. I've been in 4 years at this point. Like, it pissed me off because no, that's not what most women are there to do.
Holy moly.
But there probably was a woman on one of his jobs that did that. And it makes all of us look bad. It adds a stigma that makes these men think that that's all we're there for. And I
Yeah.
did not take that job, and I absolutely did bring it up to his boss, and he was no longer teaching their weld school, like, within a week.
Good.
So, yeah, I'm like, well, there you have that. But, like, God
Golly.
forbid he said that to, like, a first-year apprentice who worked for that company, and she's like, wait, that's what these men think of us? Like, that's all
Yeah.
that like that would have made
I
a
mean,
young
there
girl
are.
feel terrible.
To roll off of that, but there was a guy that I worked with that pretty much told me that if I was not willing to sleep with him, that he would ruin my career. And within a few months, I think it was like 2.5 months, I was on the shittiest job working these shittiest hours, and I ended up having to leave the company because it was not compatible with me being a mom. And that sucks. There are men that are like that. And there are men that will get away with it because they are buddy, and it sucks. It is what it is. But honestly, it's one of those things where it's like, take it as an opportunity, like bless and release, right? Bless your heart. I'm out. I'm going to go find somebody that's not going to treat me that way, because you don't deserve to be treated that way. And I think that goes for both men and women. Like women,
Yes.
it's easier to
Anybody.
leave. It's easier for us to find a job because people want us. But men need to know that too. Like if you're not happy, if you're not getting treated right, if you're not getting where you want, if you're not being taught what you want, if you're not learning, whatever it is, leave. There are way too many opportunities. There are way too many good companies for you to stay and be unhappy. And that's my best advice that I could ever give anybody is get witty or get tough. And if you're not happy, if you're not getting the opportunities that you need, leave. Go somewhere else.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me today, Kelsey. I had a great time talking to you. You guys can find her on TikTok at SpicySparkyKelsey. I'll make sure that I link her social media in the description of this episode. And we will talk to you soon, girl.
Thanks, girl. So nice hanging out with you.
Thank you. I had a great time. Bye.